school board meetings during the hiring of Dr. Kincannon, and you spoke about the ethical dilemma between her and our school board president, Angela Tickle. And so what was that like for you? You were pretty new to the community at that point, right?
I was very, very new to the community. And I've always been passionate about education. My first job out of college was actually, I was very, very new to the community. And I've always been passionate about education. My first job out of college was actually, I was a teacher's assistant. And then I actually became a classroom teacher, and I taught at the elementary level, and then I also taught in middle school as well. And so I've always had this heart for youth. And I will say, my experience within the classroom, I felt it to be a little bit restricting. And so I left the classroom, and then I started managing boys and girls clubs. And so I've always just been involved with youth, and my heart is there. And so just who I am as a person, I understand the power of advocacy. And you know, my grandmother really planted the seed, I think, for me having the desire to run for school board.
Really?
I was born in Topeka, Kansas, and I grew up and baptized in the church, St. Mark AME Church. And I remember the lady who played the piano, Sister Brown. I knew her as the pianist, but most know her as Linda Brown. She was the individual at the center of the landmark Supreme Court case in 1954, Brown versus Board of Education.
Man, wow.
And I remember sitting in my grandmother's kitchen before she passed. We were in Topeka, Kansas, and my grandmother, she was just telling me the story of Linda Brown, not necessarily from the historical perspective, but just as she experienced it. And she shared that Linda Brown's father, Oliver Brown, who was a minister at St. Mark AME Church, was just frustrated because his daughter could not go to his neighborhood school.
Oh my God.
And so what he did was he went across town to St. John AME, and he connected with Charles Scott, who was a lawyer there. They had a conversation, and the rest is literally history.
Oh my gosh.
And so what I gained from that conversation in my grandmother's kitchen is just the reality that when you have a concerned parent who is not afraid to courageously engage, you can literally change history.
And that was courageous in that time.
Extremely courageous.
That was bold.
Extremely courageous.
Man,
and so,
you could have faced so much backlash for that.
And so I hold that. And I think that is the seed that is planted. So why do I speak up at school boards? Because I understand the power that the voice of a parent has. Why do I want to be on school board? Because I understand that literally we can change history, and that's what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to serve in a capacity that changes the trajectory of what education looks like in the city of Waco,
100%.
And then begins to set the standard for the state of Texas.
Woo! Yes, I'm like, preaching, it's like it's Sunday morning yet? No, but I hear you, because that's exactly the same reason, because I come from the angle of being an organizer. I'm a social worker, I have a master's in social work, so a lot of that is advocacy, but then advocacy sometimes has a power dynamic to it, because as a white woman, it's like sometimes want to step in, and it's great, it's noble to carry the voice of the community into certain rooms. But for me, I was trained up in like the DREAM Act, the Dreamers movement, even criminal justice reform, and it's like, no, I want those people who have their own voices to be able to step into that space and to advocate for themselves and for their own family, so where they're safe, they're prepared, they feel equipped, they got that confidence, like we heard Dr. Bell say, they got the knowledge, the power to advocate for themselves. Because it's one thing whenever somebody can advocate for you and you get your needs met, but it's another thing whenever you get to do that for your own family and for yourself. So that vision, it's great that there's so many people that have this vision for Waco and Waco ISD, and we know that it starts with changing on the school board level, because we can't change our city until we change our school system. We can't change that until we change the dynamic of our board and the makeup of our board and the district leadership. So I'm so excited, man. That's an incredible story that you were up close and personal with the folks involved in that case. Man, okay, so we had Mr. Robert Callahan is tuning in on my live screen. He had a question for us. He's an attorney here in town. From what I observed, probably one of the few black attorneys in town, and I just so happen to work for him. He's an incredible boss, and let me see what he said. He said, in listening to the community, what's the first priority that you can identify for our ISD? So in all your listening that you've done, what's something that you keep seeing coming up?